Great. So I think I'll go ahead and get started. As people trickle in, just do a quick little introduction as to who we are and why we're here today. If you haven't been here before, all of it will be new. If you have been here before, it's probably a little repeat of what we do every workshop, just to introduce ourselves. So first and foremost, thank you all for joining us today. We're super excited to have the Department of Energy with us today. And before I introduce our speakers, I'd like to talk a little bit about Connect, our program and the partnership that makes all of this possible for us and for you. So Connect is a San Diego nonprofit, and our goal is to help entrepreneurs scale through our different programs. That includes mentorship, education, workshops, and specialized office hours such as legal and our own SBIR office hours. We have a partnership with NIWC Pacific under NAVWAR, which is one of the Navy's SysComs, to support their SBIR and STTR program, which is how we can bring these workshops to you. Connect is celebrating our 40th anniversary this year, so we're very excited that we've been able to be a part of this community for so long and provide the help and resources, or as much of it as we can, to you free of cost. So, for our speakers, I'm going to get started. So I want to thank both of you for being here today. We feel very lucky to have Carol Rabke with us. She is a DOE's Technology to Market Advisor. And if you didn't read her bio on the event page, you should, because she has a ton of knowledge and experience with the SBIR and STTR programs across agencies. And she really is a wonderful resource to have with us today. So thank you for being here, Carol. We also have our series regular, Mr. Shadi Azum. So if you've never been here before, it's the first time you're seeing him. If you've been here, you should recognize him easily. But Shadi is the NAVWAR's SBIR and STTR program manager. He'll be speaking a little bit about the Navy's SBIR and STTR program during the Q&A portion of today, just to kind of see how these two agencies differ from each other or how they're similar. Two little notes that I want to add. The Navy is going to have its own Navy SBIR office hours next week, April 30th. You can find the link to register for those on the navysbir.com website. First of its kind, we do have our own Connect SBIR office hours, but this will be with their actual team. So I would highly recommend it. And it's regarding the new release of their topics too. So a lot more information coming to you that way if you want to just learn more directly from them. And then for the Connect side, if you are local here to San Diego and you want to meet local entrepreneurs, startups, venture capitalists, we do have our event, Summer Social, on June 3rd. We will be at the Flower Fields. So go to connect.org to look into it and register. Couple of housekeeping items just before we get started. Please use a Q&A chat to submit your questions. We're going to get to those after the presentation that Carol will be leading. So I think without further ado, Carol, please go ahead and get us started. Thank you so much for being here today.
Great. Thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here, and I'm especially happy to be here on day. So I feel like it's a good time to be here talking with you from DO8 since we are celebrating Earth Day. As mentioned, my name is Carol Rabke, and I am a tech to market advisor within the Office of SBIR and STTR programs at DOE. My focus is on partnering, and so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the different programs that I manage at DOE. Just quickly, I joined DOE in July of 2021 after being in the SBIR and STTR community for 20 plus years as a commercialization service provider. So I have been working with SBIR and STTR funded firms basically my entire career. So with that said, feel free to ask me any questions at the end and I will do my best to answer them, but we're going to go ahead and get started here. So I just like to start by just showing you where the Office of SBIR and STTR programs fits within DOE. So you can see us there. This is from a um, document that was put together called the Founder's Guide to DOE. I like this graphic. They don't really talk about the DOE SBIR and STTR program in it, so I don't know how useful it will be for you, but it does give you a good overview of the different program offices there. So you will see that they have us coming in at very low TRL, um, heading out towards prototype development. I actually think with our sequential phase twos that I'm going to talk to you about, we actually go further into, maybe TRL 6 or 7. The other program office that has SBIR and STTR program is ARPA-E. It's completely separate from ours, so I just wanted to make sure that you are aware of that. So there's two different SBIR and STTR programs within DOE. So just a few SBIR and STTR facts before I jump into being DOE specific, and that is just to make sure that we're all on the same page with what SBIR and STTR are. So SBIR is the Small Business Innovation Research, STTR is Small Business Technology Transfer, and they basically exist as early stage non-dilutive R&D funding. And it is typically because the innovative ideas that you all are working on are too high risk for the private sector. The funding has to be given to US small businesses, and there has to be some commercial potential. And where does this funding come from? It's basically a tax, I'll call it, that is put on agencies that have large extramural R&D budgets. And so the total is about 100 billion per year. And you can see, that takes off just about 4%. So we have about 4 billion per year that goes to small businesses. Here I give you some percentages. So 3.2% is for the SBIR program. There are 11 agencies that participate. Smaller percentage is for STTR, and there are 6 agencies that participate. And that translates into about 7,000 new awards annually. There are some goals for the program. Uh, it was initially put in place back in the early 80s to meet federal and development research needs. Um, it was also put in place to increase private sector commercialization of innovation that is derived from federal R&D funding, to stimulate technological innovation, to foster and encourage participation in innovation and entrepreneurship by women and socially and economically disadvantaged individuals. And also the STTR part is to foster technology transfer out of the university and out of the national labs in the case of DOE. So what does an SBIR or STTR firm look like? Well, first of all, you have to be a for-profit, US owned and operated business. So you can see you have to have greater than 51% US citizen or permanent resident and less than 500 employees. So you have to be a small business. All the work has to be done in the US. It doesn't mean that you can't collaborate with someone outside of the US, but the SBIR and STTR funds can only be used to pay for that work that's done in the US. The focus is on performing R&D, so it's not for purchasing equipment, it's not to commercialize something that just needs to be tweaked. It has to be high risk, and the PI needs to be employed primarily by the SBIR and STTR firm at the time of award. The reason for that is we recognize that you all are small businesses, so you maybe can't afford to bring someone on staff until you know you have that award. And I give you a link here if you have further questions about what an SBIR and STTR firm looks like, you can go to that link. So just to show you where DOE fits in the overall scheme of things, so I have all the agencies that participate here, and I did also segment out by grants and contracts. We're going to be talking a little bit about the differences between DOE and other agencies, and that is one big piece, is that we deal with grants. So it is color coded to show you those differences, and I've also set it up so that, as you would anticipate, the larger agencies have both SBIR and STTR programs, and then the smaller ones have just SBIR programs. And DOE, including the ARPA-E portion, comes in at the third largest. So are all agencies the same? No, of course not. There are lots of differences. I just mentioned the grants versus contracts, but also if some of them have very broad topic areas, like NSF, they have the broadest topic area that I know of. So, when I'm talking to people about whether or not they should apply to DOE and we can't really find a fit for their technology, I always say, well, hey, why don't you go look at NSF? Because their topic areas are basically technology areas. And so if you can get it to fit in there, you can look at trying to apply to NSF. Focus topics, of course, DoD has very focused topics. They're looking for something very specific to get in the hands of the warfighter. DOE, we have to support our mission, but I think what you're going to see when I show you some of our example topic areas, that we're much broader than people think. We are not just energy. Another place that agencies differ is in who is going to be your customer. So DoD is primarily going to be their own customer. NSF is never going to be their own customer. DOE, I would say that about 10% or less are going to be topics that go to the national labs. So in that case, DOE is going to be your customer, but the majority of ours are not going to be, the agency is not going to be your customer. And then, of course, the application process, the systems for putting in those applications and proposals, and the deadlines are all different. So there are some very good tutorials out there on the different individual agency requirements, and so I give you a link to those as well here. So let's jump in and talk specifically about DOE. So historically, we have make awards in excess of 300 million per year, and that is just the office, the program office that I come out of. I believe ARPA-E has about 30 million. So they're an order of magnitude down from the size of our program. Ours are grants, not contracts. So that means it's your idea and your execution. Let's say you get into it and it's not really working the way you thought it would. You actually have the capability to talk to your program manager and get it revised so that, you found an issue, you're going to change what you're going to do in terms of executing. That's something that a grant would allow you to do. There are 13 different program offices that participate. The topics align with the DOE mission, which I have over in the Venn diagram over on the side, but you're going to see they're much broader than most expect. We have 2 phase 1 solicitations per year. They come out in July and November. And the one thing that is very unique to DOE is that we do require a letter of intent. So if you are going to submit to any of our solicitations, you must first submit a letter of intent. And actually, I don't have a slide on where you go to find that information, but I can put a link in the chat when we're done here about that. But the letter of intent is typically due about a month and a half before the proposal. So you have quite a bit of time to look at the topic documents before you decide. And you can put in 10 different letters of intent. So you could theoretically put in 10 different proposals. These are the different program offices that participate. Again, there are 2 releases per year. Release 1 is primarily our basic energy sciences. So you can see those folks on the left-hand side, and those will come out in July of this year. And then release 2, those are going to be our applied programs. So those typically come out in November. And good, I did give you the link. So if you go to this link down here, that is going to take you to a calendar page, and it's going to show you not only where the timing of when the topic documents are going to come out, but it will also tell you when the letters of intent are due. It'll also tell you when the applications are due, when you should anticipate hearing from them, that type of thing. So the other thing that you're going to want to do on that page, about midway down on the left-hand side, you can join our mail list. And that's a really great way to get all the information about DOE. Because if you sign up for that mail list, you'll keep getting information from us. And I mentioned that we have very broad topics, so I just wanted to throw some of these examples up here because I think that you'll see that they are pretty broad. I have lined them up under the different missions that we are supporting, but you can see we cover a lot of different things other than just energy. We do a lot with advanced manufacturing. We do a lot with cybersecurity, efficient buildings and vehicles, advanced detectors. We have a lot of modeling and simulation, quantum information sciences. We do AI. We have remote sensing. So there is just a lot of different pieces of DOE. And one thing that a lot of folks don't realize is that DOE, part of our mission, is to do the nuclear security for all across the US. So we do quite a bit there with nuclear non-proliferation technologies. So how does DOE funding work? This is just a graphic to quickly show you the different phases. So phase 1, that's where I was talking about. We have 2 annual funding opportunity announcements. They are now called NOFOs, which is a notice of funding opportunity. And they are focused mission-aligned topics. You do have to provide a letter of intent, and you get feedback on it. I should tell you that no feedback is good. They give you feedback if they feel that you were non-responsive. And so that doesn't mean that you can't apply. It just means that you need to give some thought to how you described what you were going to do relative to the topic and subtopic you selected. Because it may align with it, but the topic author didn't understand the way that you presented it. So you're going to want to make sure that you clarify that going forward. So even getting a non-responsive on your letter of intent does not prevent you from applying. Phase 1s are typically 200,000 to 250,000. They are 6 to 12 months in duration, and we make between 350 and 400 awards per year. It is budget dependent, I will say that. And then phase 2, you are going to find that that is going to be due about 9 months in. So most people make their phase 1 9 months in duration because they want to make sure that they have everything done before they have to submit that phase 2. But you don't have to. You can take up to a year. We make about 160 phase 2 awards per year. They are 2 years in duration, and it's 1.1 to 1.6 million per year. And I just wanted to show you that we do have sequential phase 2s. So if you go from a phase 1 to a phase 2, you can see that if you were to take advantage of all of the different sequential phase 2s, you could end up having SBIR, STTR funding for almost 8 full years. So phase 2A and phase 2B, those are projects that require a little bit of additional R&D. Maybe you didn't finish the R&D of your phase 2, so you would apply for an additional phase 2A. If you have attracted some attention of a potential commercialization partner or someone from the private sector, but they are like, well, you really need to tweak it. It needs to have these features. Then you might apply for a phase 2B. I tell people to think of B as in business because it means someone is talking to you and they have some interest, but they need you to come up with some other features before they'd really be interested. Those are also 2 years in duration, 1.1 million, and we make about 30 of those per year. And then the final one is a phase 2C, and there I think of C as the commercialization partner. So here you have to have matching funds. So you have to have someone who is going to put in, a third party who's going to put in funds. And the max is 1.1, and they are also 2 years in duration. And we make very few of those. I think since the program was put in place in 2020 or 2021, we've only made 9 of them. So the DOE application review criteria, we're going to look at 3 things, and they are all equally weighted. We're going to look at technical merit, ability to carry out the project, and impact. The technical merit we are going to look at is the idea novel. We're going to confirm that it's R&D, and we're going to make sure that it's responsive to the topic and the subtopic. Ability to carry out the project, we're going to look at the team. Do you have the right expertise on your team? And do you have a solid work plan to prove the feasibility? And then impact, that is where we are going to look for your societal and scientific impact. So that's where we look for the commercial opportunity. And then all of the applications after the review process is complete, they are rank ordered, and the most meritorious applications are awarded. So basically the different program offices, they are the ones that do their own topics and their own award selection. They basically will fund projects until they run out of money. So commercialization is significant. You might say, why is it significant? It is significant because it is a statutory goal of the SBIR and STTR programs. So Congress wants to see return on investment of those non-dilutive taxpayer dollars that you used. All of the agencies are required to evaluate the commercial potential of the R&D that's being conducted, and DOE evaluates it under the impact criteria. And we actually have to report this back to SBA annually. So I just want to make sure that everyone that is applying to DOE understands the significance of your commercialization plan. So in phase 1, you have to submit a commercialization plan. It's only 4 pages in length. We have an example one posted on our website. But then when you move to phase 2, it is expanded into 15 pages. So that's when we're really saying, okay, now you got to really focus and tell us all the validation behind what you just maybe told us was going to happen in phase 1. And then I also mentioned the company commercialization report here, and that is something that you have to do if you have had multiple phase 2 awards. And so that's something that you would complete on grants.gov, and it gets uploaded with your application. And basically what it's doing is just making sure that if you have phase 2 awards, that you're actually commercializing product from them. We recognize that commercialization is hard, And so we do provide resources. The first three here, those are resources that are available to the general public. You don't have to be a DOE awardee to participate in them. I'm going to be telling you a little bit more about the partnering platform. We do have commissioned market research reports that are available. You can, I gave you the link here under commercialization resources. You can go and find them there. They are particularly useful if you are working on a technology that is in an emerging market, because there may not be very much market information out there. But as I mentioned, Congress requires that there be return on investment of this non-dilutive funding, and the DOE program offices need to make sure that the topics that they are proposing are actually going to result in commercializable products. So that's why they do that. And then I also do hold commercialization workshops quarterly. They're all virtual and the recordings are posted. So if you do become a DOE awardee, we have some resources that are available. They are optional, but TABA, you can ask for 6.5 K and 50,000, but you have to use third-party vendors and you have to identify that you're going to use this funding when you put in your application. And I must say that it is also over and above the award amount. So, I told you that it was 200,000 for phase one, but if you were going to use TAPA funds, it would be 206,500 would be your budget. We also offer phase shift 1 and phase shift 2. If you think about the NSF I-Core programs, that's what phase shift 1 is similar to. It's all about customer discovery, and we ask you to do 30 interviews. Then phase shift 2 is for our phase 2 awardees, and it's a deeper dive on the financial models, cash flow, customer sales cycles, and we ask you to do 80 interviews. I mentioned the virtual quarterly commercialization workshops. So they are workshops that focus on typical areas of weakness for the scientist and engineer turned entrepreneur. And so these are the quarterly workshops that have been held to date. And all of the recordings can be found on this link that I provide you here. It's also a QR code, so you can go there and you'll find the slides and the recordings. So the other piece that I work on at DOE was to introduce something called the SBIR Partnering Platform. And this is a searchable database. It's public facing, self-supporting, where you as an SBIR and STTR applicant would register as an innovator. And then you can see on the other side would be partners. And so someone like Connect San Diego, they would register as a partner, for example. So just to differentiate between the two. And it lets you find partners to work with, but it also lets you network with other innovators. So, if you're needing to find other people to complete your team through collaboration or subcontract, that's a good way to meet other innovators. So you can find partners using keywords and AI searching. You can also filter a bunch of different ways. I have the funding opportunities across all agencies on the site. You can bookmark favorites. If you find a partner, you can message with them confidentially. As I mentioned, you can network with other innovators. You do that on the community page. Partners can post. So like if Connect San Diego had a new accelerator program or even this webinar type of thing, they could post on the community page to get other people to know about it. There is a news feed for applicable industry and stakeholder news, and then we have a resource page that has resources on it. It has the commercialization workshop recordings posted there, and then it also has descriptions and SBIR contacts for each of the national labs, including the International Space Station. Again, you would register as an innovator. I don't know if we have people in the audience that are also interested in life science or health care or medical device applications, but the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute recently joined the platform as well. And you can get there using that QR code. So I just wanted to quickly, I'm going to run through some screenshots. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on them, but you do have them in the slide deck, so you can go back and look at them if you have questions once you join the platform and go in and start looking through it. So when you go to sbirpartnering.org, I would hope that you would pick DOE and you would join. But as an innovator, you can move seamlessly back and forth between the two. Partners, when they join, they have to opt in. So if they are a provider of a service, so let's say they do commercialization services or engineering design or test and certification, those folks would be visible on both sites back and forth. But if you're a stakeholder, maybe you're someone who is a clean tech investor, they would have to opt in to be visible on the NHLBI side. So when you go in, this is what your dashboard would look like, and you can see right away that you can search for partners and funding. You can search based on your unique needs. So you could go under the partner role and you could select provider, and you can see that we have 480 different providers there. You can select commercialization services. Maybe you're looking for someone to provide TABA support. This would be a place that you could find them. Let's say you find a partner that you're interested in, you can instant message with them to connect. So I put in just a general venture group that is on the site. If I hit view details, then it's going to tell me what the partners' names are that are on the site that are associated with the organization, and it lets you instant message with them directly. You can network with other innovators, so you can go on the community page and you would want to create a post. You can select from a drop down one of these four options. You would want to give yourself a title for what you're looking for, and then you would post. I mentioned the resource page, so here you can find national labs, you can find a short description of them, you can get to their website, and then you can also find the SBIR contact. And I also mentioned that there is a page for commercialization workshop recordings as well. You can follow relevant news, and you can even bookmark it. If you don't have time to look at it right now, you can go back and look at it another time. And when you log in, if there is a new community post, it would show up there. It would have a little red dot next to the community. Or if on your dashboard you had a new message, you would see a little red dot on your dashboard as well. But you do get emails from the system when someone asks to communicate with you. So I know I told you we don't have anything going on right now, and we're waiting for our FY26 NOFOs to come out. So what can you do while you're waiting? You can go and make sure that you really are eligible to participate. Again, these are the four things that you have to make sure that you fit into, the four buckets. You have to be a small business, you have to be US owned and operated, you have to be able to do the work in the US, you have to focus on R&D, and your PI has to be primarily employed at the time of award. And then STTR, of course, requires a nonprofit research institute. And the PI can be an employee of either the small business or the research institute, but the award is always going to go to the small business. And then you can think about whether or not you're a good fit with DOE. And so how can you do that? You can go back and review topics from previous releases. You would want to search by keyword. And I would say don't just look at one of them because you think you fit into release 1 versus release 2. Look at both of them because you'd be really surprised what you find in either release. I wanted to point out that points of contact are provided, and You can reach out to them at any point in the process. There's no, like dead time where you can't engage with them. And keep in mind that SBIR and STTR is a very small portion of their overall R&D budget. So they probably have a lot of other things going on that you might be able to tap into. So reach out to them. Check out the references because they often have roadmaps or they talk about other programs. I already mentioned the market studies page. And then you can also check out, let's say you found somebody, you found a topic and a subtopic, and it would have been perfect. And you want to see, well, who did they award? So you could go and pull our awards. I give you the link here. And you could say, oh, who did win an award for topic 5B, and then you could see how well you compare with that awardee. So again, just something to think about while you're waiting for our topic releases. And I just give you a couple of slides on how I go about doing that. So I brainstorm 5 to 10 keywords that I think represent either, expertise or technology or the innovation, and then I go through and see if I can find anything. And here I was just looking at the topic document from 2025, our phase 1 release 2 topics. And you can, I'm just going to go back for a second. So see up at the top where I say funding opportunities, you can go backwards and find any of our previous year topic documents to look through. And you just would do that up at the top. The other thing that you can find in our topics document is you can find the maximum amounts of the award for both phase 1 and phase 2. And you can also see if they are offering SBIR only or SBIR and STTR, and whether or not it is a fast track application. So fast track just means that you are going to submit one application, but it's going to be for phase 1 and phase 2. So you move directly into that. Keep in mind that SBIR and STTR are 2 different pots of funding. So if you meet criteria for both, you can apply for both. We do at DOE do topic webinars, and we do record them. And that's when the actual DOE program manager that put out the topic is going to talk about it and do some Q&A. So that's another great thing to go and listen to. And then I did mention that we often have points of contact with each of the topic and subtopics, and open communication is permitted all the time. And then check out the references for sure. And once you find a program office that has information that you think is applicable, or they have topics that are applicable to you, I would say to go to their program website and look at their mission, look at their funding priorities. They often have reference data and reports on it. They're often holding workshops or have conference proceedings, and you can join their mailing list as well. And most of them do have contact information. So, if you were to be looking for something in the building technologies office, chances are that you could go digging down into it and find the different folks that you could actually engage with. I know vehicle technologies office does that. You can find all of their contact information on their actual office website. There are some other DOE resources that I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of. There is a partnering with the national laboratories, so it's just called labpartnering.org. It is run by the Office of Technology Transfer at DOE, and it is a partnership with NREL. And they have a very nice partnering platform that you can go and you can find a lot of information out about each of the national labs. But I will tell you, you can't engage with the person directly on that. You can find someone, but you have to go through a form, which is different than the SBIR partnering platform. The Technology Commercialization Fund, they have different voucher programs. Demonstration facilities are available at Idaho, NREL, and Oak Ridge. There is something unique here that you might be interested in, depending on how far out of graduate school you are and where you are in your entrepreneurial journey. But there is something called a lab embedded entrepreneurship program, LEAP, at NREL, Oak Ridge, Lawrence Berkeley, and Argonne National Lab, where you actually are an employee there for 2 years. They pay you a salary, they pay you benefits, and you can work on your technology within the lab there. And then New Mexico has their own program run very similarly for Sandia and Los Alamos. And so I just give you links to those programs there. Bottom line, we want you to succeed. So we have some general questions. You can email them. I mentioned getting on the mail list. We have recorded topics and webinars, and then we do, when the application process is in process, after the topic documents are released, basically, we do Ask Us Anything webinars. All right. I know I talked a little bit longer than I was supposed to, sorry. But I am giving you information here about people you can contact. I shamelessly am plugging the SBIR partnering platform again here as well. I do need to tell you that if you have questions, you're going to want to reach out to Eileen. Because as of Friday, I no longer work for DOE. So you're not going to want to be reaching out to me past Friday. So reach out to Eileen, and she can help you. All right, I think that is everything. So I'm going to stop sharing, and hopefully we have some questions.
Thank you, Carol. I'm sorry, and hopefully you have something incredible next. I know things are a little bit crazy right now in general.
Yes, yes, very crazy.
But thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. I think you shared so much. I learned so much just from hearing you speak about the DOE and all the wonderful things that you guys have for small businesses to use. I will just add that for companies that maybe are not a fit for DOE, if you do not find a good fit within their partnering website page, you can do the same type of keyword search on the SBIR.gov portfolio
Mm-hmm.
keyword search, and that's across all of the different agencies, across SBIR and STTRs as well. So don't get discouraged if maybe the DOE is not the right home for your technology. Go ahead and look at, as Carol said, there's 11 other federal agencies that participate in the program in SBIR. So just do a little bit more research and recon to see where your technology might live. But anyways, with that, I will let Shadi go ahead and take it away.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Carol. That was a wealth of information. And it's good to see both similarities and some minor differences too that was brought there. I think some of the questions too, I know we wanted to have like Navy versus like DOE, not that the verses are competitive in
Mm-hmm.
any way, but I think some of them are specific to DOE. So let me review those first. And then I want to add in something about our catapult program that I think plays in nicely with what you just talked about. So the one of the questions, let's do it from those that have been submitted beforehand to this webinar, was do you have a specific technology readiness level or TRL calculator that is being used by DOE?
No, so we actually, if you were to go on the SBIR partnering platform, that's really the only place where I have brought up the TRL levels. And so when you join, you are asked to talk about your technology, obviously. And there we have a pop-up that talks about how you would select what TRL level you should be at, and it is basically the DoD. It's just a graphic that explains, TRL 1 through 3, then 4 through
Right.
5, 6 through 7. So yeah.
I think too, if I'm not mistaken, there is a almost like an intense calculator that the Air Force uses. I saw
Oh,
this question
okay.
before too, and I try to look it up, and I think on DOE's website They link it to an Air Force calculator as well, which I've heard can be cumbersome, but it's a very, like, you answer so many questions and it arrives at a specific value.
Mm,
But it's similar to us in the Navy. We go by the thermometer charter. I think that's a very
yeah,
popular
that's what we
graphic that's
use.
being seen. Okay, I know you answer this throughout, but just to help drive it home, for folks that are just trying to break into Department of Energy and through the SBIR program, are there any good like first steps to just get started?
Right. So I think the very first step would be to join the mail list. So go and join the mail list, and then you'll get any program update that is coming in. And I would also just go and spend some time looking at the funding opportunity page because you can look at the topic documents that have been posted for previous years and just get a feel for the types and the breadth of the different topic areas that we fund. And I think that will give you some ideas. It would also give you points of contact. So you can reach out to them at any time and, say, hey, I've got this technology. I saw you had a topic in FY24 on this area. You know, I know that that solicitation is closed, but do you have anything else going on? So they're pretty open to wanting to speak with you.
Got it. Thank you. Another question, kind of along the same lines: how can a company demonstrate the unique value proposition of their technology and their proposal? Do you have any tips on that?
Right. So, value proposition is actually one of the specifications in our phase 2 commercialization plan. So, that is, I mean, I think it calls it out as a specification. What is your value proposition? But you can do that in your phase 1 commercialization plan as well. I mean, that's really in terms of value proposition that we talk about a value proposition being the benefits that you're going to provide to a customer. And so from that perspective, it would fall directly into your commercialization plan.
Got it. Thank you. I think we got some questions too. These were some that were posted on the webinar Q&A chat. Thank you for everyone that has been using the Q&A. Please post your questions there. Um, so one of them was dealing with an indirect rate. If you could speak on that. As a startup company, I'm going to read this verbatim. As a startup company, they have a high indirect rate. They don't want to lose grant opportunities due to this. Is there a maximum acceptable indirect rate before it begins to negatively affect a grant application?
I don't think that there is a negative. I know that that is one of the places where our contracting officers will come back and negotiate with you on that. So I guess I would just say that I haven't seen anyone be like cut out from receiving an award because of that, because they'll go back to you and say, this is unacceptable. We need to work with you on getting this in a better range. But there is information on that on our website. So if you were to go to the DOE website and you were to look at applicant information, there's a worksheet there that you could look at.
Got it. Similar, a proposal was submitted, but the requested budget was above what was intended. Is it possible to adjust the budget and resubmit the proposal for reconsideration after it has been denied?
Right. So DOE does not have a reconsideration where if it's been truly denied, no, you can't resubmit it.
Yep.
You could resubmit it another time if there was a similar topic, another year. Um, but no, you can't resubmit. But so I would just say that that is something you don't want to be administratively declined. So just really pay attention to that. They are very specific in the topics document over what the maximum budget is that they will allow. Um, but keep in mind that, as I mentioned, the TABA funds, if you're going to use TABA funds, you can go over that budget. But for phase 1, that means you're only going over by 6.5. And for phase 2, you're only going over by 50,000. So, yeah, they will look at that. And I think you just get administratively declined right off the bat.
Yeah, that's kind of, I think, the same thing. I guess solicitation is the
Hmm.
broad term for everything. And even for
Right.
Navy, we have like very specifics. I mean, even to point size of your font choices or number of pages.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So we do encourage everyone, please read solicitation. That would be
Yes.
important.
Yeah.
Um,
There,
yeah,
can I just interject one thing?
please.
Because I didn't put it, yeah. Anyhow, there is an application, I want to say wizard. I think it's called an application guide for phase 1. So again, if you go to our website and you go to our, I don't know, resources for applicants. Under phase 1, there is a link to it. It's like one of the very first links on that page, and it will walk you through it step by step. So, if you do that, if you're new to DOE, you pretty much, I won't say can't, because that's always, somebody can always get it messed up somewhere along the line. But we've tried to give you a way to just step your way through it without missing something important. There's a checklist. It keeps track of the documents for you. I think it even tells you how well, how complete you're getting, along the way, like TurboTax. I think it does it too. So along those lines.
And they
We oh, go
oops,
ahead, Gretel. Sorry.
do that in the Navy website, so navysbir.com, there's also templates you can use. I'm not sure
Oh,
if
great.
detailed as the DOE's, but there are some resources there for you to peruse and really try your best to, once, like Shading Girl said, read every bit.
Hmm.
It might be different too, so just make sure you're reading the instructions and utilizing the resources that are out there for you to use.
Hmm. Yeah, and we just updated our phase 2 commercialization plan specifications for the first time in 12 years. So if you're used to applying to DOE, make sure you check out the phase 2 commercialization plan specifications because they were really changed.
We received another question about a delayed status that might have been received when from the DOE Office of Science SBIR notice of funding. Could you shed some light on what that, I guess, particularly
Right.
means?
Right. So if you do go to our funding opportunities page, you're going to see that a lot of things are delayed right now. So the biggest, well, we are unable to release any notice of funding opportunities right now. Um, we are waiting for some of our politicals that get put into place within the Department of Energy to be confirmed. And then once that happens, we can release more notices of funding opportunities. So all of them say delayed for phase 2s, I think, if you were to go and look there. Also, you will see that we have delays on our notice of awards. So I do believe that our um, FY25 phase 1 release 1 awards, those notices have gone out. The award notices have gone out. Um, but they are not done. There are more coming. But I don't believe that those awards have started yet either. So yes, things are very delayed with the administration changes and everything that is going on within DOE. They're talking about a restructure of uh, a downsizing of 43%. So, um, so at any rate, so there's a lot of things that are in flux right now.
Yeah. I guess we got a couple questions. I'm just picking and choosing because I know we're also on time or close to time. When it comes to clearances, like in case discussions or work goes classified, how does the clearance process work? Is there a cost associated with it?
Well, at least within the SBIR and STTR programs office, our program office, I don't know if this
Yeah.
is true for ARPA E. We don't have anything that is classified.
So
Um,
everything is unclassed
Correct.
for,
Right.
got it.
Right.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah. Let's see. I think one came to that said fantastic information and background. My team and I submitted for the most recent FY25, but failed to get our letter of intent in on time. Is
Mhm.
there any way to get a courtesy review of our submission for 2026 viability. I think that goes hand in hand with reconsideration, right?
Yeah, no, if you miss, so that is, I tried to stress that you have to get a letter of intent in. It's not very, I mean, I'll say this, uh, but I know that I'm not you, I'm not in your shoes. It's not very labor intensive. It's a 500 word abstract, so, and you can put in up to 10. So even if you think you might submit to a topic, go ahead and submit it because then it's there, it's in place. It would be better to have it there and not use it than to have said, gosh, I wish I would have put one in for that topic and then not be able to. Because your topic, when you put in your proposal, the topic and subtopic have to match exactly what topic and subtopic you put in your letter of intent for. And you'll be declined if they don't match.
Yeah.
So.
A couple more. I guess we think the answer is probably most likely no. The Department of Energy asked for a percentage in the product or company that they fund. I
Oh, no.
assume non-dilutive funding
No,
across the
right.
board.
Non-dilutive
Like
funding.
Navy. It's
Yeah.
not, we don't get anything out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why this program is so great across the board, across all agencies. I'm
Yeah.
always shocked when people haven't heard about it because it seems like it's the greatest thing around.
Yeah.
Um,
Let's see. And then for Department of Energy's July solicitation, is that still moving forward? Was one of the other questions that was asked.
right. It is moving forward. We have no reason to, I don't think it says delayed yet. It shouldn't say
Okay.
delayed yet. Um, so there's no reason to believe that it wouldn't be moving forward. And the only
Okay.
other question that hasn't been asked yet, but I will just go ahead and make a statement to it is, how are things changing within the Department of Energy? And I will just say that every time there is an administration change, the budgets change by program office. So, we might see EERE might not get as much funding as, say, fusion gets or nuclear gets. But then, when Biden was in, the EERE practically doubled, so it just depends on the administration. But that's the
Yeah.
only thing. I mean, it's still equaled out to about our same budget, just it changed the allocations to the different program offices.
Yeah. Okay. I want to, and so let's see, I think this might be the last one, and there are two things I wanted to talk about. What if the technology you are using is already being sold commercially? Is there a better area to look for those of us expanding the use of a technology?
I guess I would just say, how innovative is that expansion? If it's never
Yep.
been used in that particular area, then I would say that is innovative, you know, and I'm sure it would require some type of tweaking to make it work in a different area. So,
Yep. Thank you. On the question about classification, so I got it on my end. Yay, the question for me. So for Navy, yes. So all of our phase ones generally are unclassified. I've never seen a classified phase one. Phase two could be classified, and this is Navy as a whole. We do sponsor and walk you through the process to achieve the classification that is necessary. So you are guided through that process, at least for the Navy. And I think a lot of times we do have our phase twos going into a classified space. Thank you for that question. And the last thing before I think we end too is I want to talk about catapult, or basically every agency has an opportunity for us to capitalize on past work. And so, Carol, I think in this situation, if a company does get a phase one or a phase two award, Navy can always take the work there and create a second phase two from that. And that's also a bit of a thing that I think people tend to forget is if the portfolio overlaps agencies, they can shop around for customers. And you guys have that just to drive that home where you can adopt from other agencies as well, correct?
yes, there has to be, it doesn't happen very often. I will just say that because
Sure.
there has to be such a close alignment. But I have seen our technologies get moved, in particular, over to Navy. Um, So, so I have seen it happen that way. But yes, if there is alignment and an argument that can be made.
Yep. Awesome. I think those are all the questions from my end. Carol, thank you so much for being here. It's always, I was sharing earlier before we started the webinar that it's always great to have like a different agency and
Mm-hmm.
see what they have to offer, how they're better, that we can always learn from. So thank you for your time for being here, and I'll pass it over to Gretel.
Yes, I want to thank you both for being here today, for sharing everything, maybe almost everything that you know and you're allowed to share with us. We're super thankful for your time and for always being out here to help our community of startups and entrepreneurs. This is an incredible program. If you guys have received an award, you know how valuable it is, especially as you're getting started to have non-dilutive funding. I think that's just huge. I will say two things. One, I know we keep getting the questions on how things are changing. You guys will know when we know. So make sure that you continue to go to the websites that you visit, navysibir.com, DOE, whatever it is. Make sure you go there to stay up to date on everything that is happening and updating. And then Carol was kind enough to share her presentation with us. So once this concludes, we will send the recording of the webinar as well as her presentation with all the information and links that she shared and put together for you all today. So I think we are at time, and I just want to once again say how thankful I am to Carol and Shadi for being here today. If you guys have any questions, you can reach out to Connect. If there's anything that needs to be directed at the DOE, we can do our best to connect you that way. If not, just reach out to us directly. And don't forget to register for Navy SBIR office hours, April 30th. Have a good one, all. Thank you,
Great.
Carol.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Good luck, you guys. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye, Carol.
Bye-bye.
Hi, Shadi.